especially some people at the other end have opened up the doors for, that we need to take care of our veterans first. They serve this country, and we're going to take care of them.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
You're welcome.
Senator Rubio, with the growth of terrorism, the media is often the only source of information on Muslims and radical Islam. Should we be satisfied with believing the information is accurate? And what steps have you taken to become more knowledgeable about Islam?
Thank you for the question, Becky. I am a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee. I am always and continuously learning who and where and what radical Islamists are planning to do every day. We are in a continuous war with the radical Islam. Now, we're not at war with the peace-loving, good American Muslims. Those people are going to be those people are going to be the people that are going to help us root out those radicals that are in our country right now. And those are the people that we need to not insult and say that we're at war with them. Now, if you listen to Hillary Clinton, she doesn't even realize we're at war. She doesn't want to call them radical Islam. She doesn't want to say anything like that. Now, I don't want to also overemphasize the concept of there's Islamophobia. Now, I was reading on the FBI statistics of hate crimes. There was 1,140 offenses of religious bias of hate crimes. There was 183 which were towards Muslims, but yet there was 648 crimes against Jews. Now, the Jewish population is twice as large here as of those people of Muslims, but yet they're 4 times more likely to get a hate crime done against them. Now, being that said, I do realize that Mr. Trump was just like, oh, we're just going to win, we're going to make big plans, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. He doesn't says anything that says what he's going to do. He just makes these little great big ideas, and everything's going to be huge.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great, absolutely. And we're going to win, and we're going to do all this stuff. But the thing is, I, as a member of the Intelligence Committee, I am prepared to become Commander-in-Chief and make it happen, where we're going to use airstrikes, we're going to use strategical methods from the military, and let them tell me what I need to do so I can make the best decision.
Marco, it's amazing. I get my 1-minute rebuttal.
Thank
It's
you,
amazing.
Mr. Rubio. Mr. Trump, we'll get to you in just one moment,
I got
please.
1-minute rebuttal.
All right. Senator
You are
Cruz.
looking nice tonight, Becky. Did you go to the same hairstylist as Megan did?
Senator Cruz, same question to you, sir. With the growth of terrorism, should we believe what we hear about radical Islam in the media? And what steps have you taken to become more knowledgeable about Muslims and Islam?
Thank you, Becky. Under President Obama and Secretary Clinton, the world is more dangerous and America is less safe. If I'm elected to serve as Commander-in-Chief, we won't cower in the face of evil. America will lead, we will rebuild our military, we will kill terrorists, and every Islamic militant will know you will You're signing your death warrant, and under no circumstances will I apologize for America. 2 terms of the disastrous Obama-Clinton foreign policy, we have had one useful effect. We now know that the world starts to look like what the world looks like without America. The next president will have to start on day 1 rebuilding what they have tried to tear down. A truly conservative foreign policy would have 3 simple principles. To preserve our country, we need to exert leadership on the global stage, not withdraw from it. On day 1, I will immediately repeal every word of President Obama's dangerous Iran deal and will prioritize American national security interests in every instance.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Mr. Trump, can we get your opinion on this, please?
You sure can. This is a silent killer. I love the Muslims. I just hate radical Islamic terrorists, okay? You heard a lot of comments there from Marco and from Ted. They're talking about the borders. He talked about rebuilding. I want to build. I want to build that wall. And the reason for that is to keep these people out. You say, well, these are immigrants, as they call it, coming across. Well, within those immigrants, you have OGM. You have all these people coming from other countries. We do need to stop. I want to build a big, beautiful wall, a big one. Beautiful gate. Open up the gate. You're welcome to come in. But let's be clear on this. They're talking about checking their background. There's no way to check their background. They don't even have papers. President Obama's telling them to wipe their Facebook off so that they can't be found. So how do you tell who's good and who's bad? We've had a bunch of accidents already. No, they weren't accidents. They were intentional killings, killing a bunch of people. For what reason? Because we let these people in the country. And these are people that we actually stopped, and you were here. So when you mention this, we need to be cognizant of what's going on. But at the same time, we have to trust our government. We can't trust the government to tell us anything. This reminds me of Hillary Clinton at Benghazi. What did she do there? She had all the intelligence she needed, and she didn't do anything for it. This is a problem, a big problem, huge problem. We need to be able to trust the people in office and get back to what we need to know about what's happening. If there's something that's there that's secret, I could understand, but be on the up with everybody, and let's tell people what's going on. But as far as more knowledge about Islam, we need to trust the experts in our country. And we have to do our own reading and knowledge of them. It's not that we hate everybody, we won't let them in, but yet we have to be able to have a wall. It reminds me of a wall. I'm going to have to build a wall in Canada also, so they'll come Canadians and clear this deal, just like you stole the primary up there, Ted.
Well, when I become Commander-in-Chief, I'll contract you to build the wall.
And we'll get it done.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. Governor Bush, the same question to you. What have you done to become more familiar with Muslims and radical Islam?
Thank you, Becky. Well, everyone's talking about on the stage about radical Islam, but let's look at this first part of this question about the media. How are we supposed to trust our media? The left-wing, left-wing media. NBC, for example, we all know what happened with Brian Williams there and the lies he told, but they also doctored the tapes on the Trayvon Martin case. How are we supposed to trust NBC? Or how are we supposed to trust ABC, where they have an anchor, George Stephanopoulos, who was a chief staffer for the Clinton administration, who pays or donates to the Clinton Foundation? Oh yeah, let's trust this media. But first of all, like Donald said, we need to trust our politicians. That's one thing I agree with him on, is that we do need to trust our politicians. The thing is, we can't even trust the Attorney General, who said that if you say one bad thing about the refugees coming over, she's going to go and she's going to arrest you. But let's look what just happened in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday morning, when a veteran was attacked by 3 African-American teenage boys for being racist. The video shows he said nothing to them, nothing. They were calling him racist. They then took him outside, beat him half to death, took his money. But yet, we're supposed to trust our administration? Marco brings up the hate crimes. That's a big problem. We have the Black Lives Matter, which is a hate group. Black Lives Matter is a hate group. They are not fixing anything, just like the Obama administration. The racial divide in America has gotten worse with the Obama administration, not getting better. Now, what I have done to become more knowledgeable about Islam is, as my time as governor, I have to know everybody in my state. I have to know every single thing that's happening. And I know about the religion of Islam. And most part of it is peaceful, just like Christianity. Most part of it is peaceful. But we need to look at the, as Marco puts it, the 1%, the radical Islamic terrorists. Let's say the name that they actually are, unlike the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton, who can't even call them what they are. Our top military officials say that how are we supposed to attack these people if we can't even call them for what they are?
Let me say one thing. Give your moms and be proud that I got you to come out of your shell, okay?
Thank you, Donald. Thank you.
Senator Rubio, you were mentioned. You have 1 minute.
Now, it is clear that we are at war with a radical Islam. If you just turn on your news. But we also have domestic terrorism. We also have questions of mental health care. We had a few unfortunate incidents in Colorado. But what do we do with these people like from San Bernardino? Do we just, blanket search them? No, we need those. We need that reporting. We need to not have fear that if you report somebody because of Islam descent, or they're black, or they're whatever race, whatever it is, you need to be able to report these things without any fear that you're going to be called a racist. I mean, that's the one thing Obama has brought to this country. He's made race relations worse than ever before. Now we just need that moment where these people can say, okay, look, I just saw some behavior that seems very rare, very strange. Can we please look into it? But then what happens with people like in Nancy Pelosi and people like that? They're going to say, oh, we can't search them because they're from Muslims, and we can't search them because otherwise we're going to be targeting them.
And Marco, you were the biggest opponent of the immigration reform with Obama.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next question there, Senator. This one is for Senator Cruz. Senator Cruz, you've argued before the Supreme Court defending our Constitution and are considered a staunch supporter of the Constitution as it is written, not as it is interpreted. My question for you is, many of our younger generation do not know, much less even understand our Constitution. What is your plan to educate Americans on the Constitution?
I have spent a lifetime fighting to defend the Constitution, our nation's founding document and the supreme law of the land. Was crafted by our founding fathers to act as chains to bind the mischief of government and to protect the liberties endowed to us by our Creator. Unfortunately, recently administrations have defied the Constitution and the rule of the law, and as a result, we are less free. We need to restore the Constitution as our standard. We need to protect the people by rolling back the federal government to the functions the Constitution sets out. We need to give power back to the states and the people so that we remain a land where liberty can flourish.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Trump, I'd like to hear your opinions on this. What is your plan to educate Americans on our Constitution?
Well, first of all, when we're in election, it seems like everybody's a conservative. I just heard that at the other end with Jim making a comment about conservative. I am a conservative, except when it comes to health care. I'm a liberal because I want everybody to be taken care of. When you talk about the Constitution, isn't that part of what these children should be learning in the school? We're taking this away. We need to put the education back in the hands of the state and not have the federal government, as you would have Governor Jeb Bush down there, want Common Core. That's a bad program. Bad. It's not good. It's bad. It's a disaster. So that's what I would do, and make sure that the schools do what they're supposed to be doing on behalf of the state, not on behalf of the government.
So, Mr. Trump, you would put it back in the hands of the states, and what if the states didn't want to teach the Constitution?
Well, then that's where we'd have to step in again with executive order.
That's very constitutional, isn't it?
Mr. Bush, would you like to rebut?
Yes, I would. First of all, we're talking about the Constitution, and on this day, today's a day of mourning. Let's just take a moment to remember Justice Antonin Scalia, who's being buried today, a great leader and fighter for our Constitution. But Donald, for you to bring up about Common Core, yes, I said it. I supported it. I'm admitting it. But can you please, or somehow give us some evidence why you supported the liberal ideas? And like you said it. It seems like an election year, everybody's a conservative. But yet you call yourself a conservative now after for 60 years of your life. You can't switch on a dime. Last year, you asked the question of who would you think would be a good Supreme Court justice? You said your sister. Your sister is one of the most liberal judges in the nation. And you said she would be a good candidate for it? Yeah, that's a real good thing.
Governor Bush,
Conservatism.
Governor Bush, if you don't mind me interrupting just real quick, let me go ahead and pose that question to you as well about what we're going to do, how you are going to educate Americans on the Constitution. You can fit that in on the rhetorics, Mr.
Okay. Well, right now there's supposedly a whole week dedicated to teaching about our Constitution to the children of to our kids in schools. But the thing is, it's not being taught. I guarantee you can go ask some high schooler, a senior for goodness, and ask him what the First Amendment is, and they probably could not tell you what the First Amendment is. They could probably tell you about the Second Amendment or the Third. But the thing is, probably they don't even know what the Constitution is, Anderson. The thing is, we need to be able, this needs to be forced onto the schools. They need to be taught in their government classes. They all have government classes, but yet it's not being taught in the government classes. But, so I agree with Donald on this issue. I do agree. We do need to force the schools to teach the Constitution, because the schools wouldn't be there. Our country wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Constitution. So just like we do in church, we praise Jesus and we praise God and we talk about God all the time, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for God. Just like the United States of America would not be here today if it was not for the Constitution of the United States of America.
Just keep it up, you may make a good vice president.
Thank you, Governor. Senator Rubio, you don't mind, would you educate us on your plan to educate Americans on the Constitution?
If anybody's ever gone to college, especially a four-year university, how many of you have met professors that'll tell you that it's a living, breathing document? Is it? Or is it actually law? Or is it what is supposed to constrict the government from doing? Obviously, we don't teach that anymore. We always tell you that but we make up these constitutional rights, the separation of church and state. Where is that in the Constitution? It's not. Most people think that it's in there, but it's not. It's actually letters from the Federalist Papers where Thomas Jefferson is talking about separating the church, make sure that we don't do what the Anglican Church was doing. Now, how do we teach somebody the Constitution? Well, why don't we post it in front of the schools? You know, you have it inside the classes. When we teach world history and when we teach U.S. government, that should be a mandated education. That should be mandated to every student in high school to learn that what it is, and including why we created that document. I mean, the Declaration of Independence was just that we wanted to be unique and be this experiment in the world that is unique to us. And we would love to spread it out, but apparently other people do not understand why it is so incredible that we have this Constitution. And I do believe that in college we need to teach that it is not a living document. It is a written document on a dead piece of wood that is now sitting there with ink in there that is not erased. And if you want to amend it, there's reasons for amendment. There's ways to amend it. It's written in there how to amend it. And so we need to stop writing laws. Right? The president does not have the right just to make executive orders the way they do it today.
Okay, we'd like to go ahead and get the individual questions for each candidate, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Senator Cruz, this one is for you. Many feel the federal government has overreached its constitutionally established boundaries. They feel their children and grandchildren will inherit a bankrupt nation run by an unaccountable bureaucracy. There are some proponents, Mark Levin being one, who support Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution, which allows a convention of the states to restrict the power of the federal government. State legislators and American citizens would restore checks and balances on the federal government. What is your position on Article 5 convention and why?
Thank you, Megan. I applaud Mark Levin for his book and for being unafraid to propose these thoughtful constitutional amendments. Mark's book sparks an important discussion about how to fix the problems that face our republic as a result of bad policies, judicial activism, and the erosion of federalism. I think many of his proposed constitutional amendments have merit and intend to work with my colleagues in the Congress and the American people to make common sense constitutional reforms like a balanced budget amendment a reality.
Thank you. Senator Cruz.
Mr. Trump, our founding fathers believed the smaller the government, the greater the citizen. True conservatives believe in this principle. Please be specific on what departments within the federal government you will cut or eliminate and why.
Thank you, Becky. I'm always specific. It's all these other political hacks down here that want to wish-wash around and go around all these questions. You know, conservative is a derivative of conserve, and that's what I want to do. I want to conserve this nation. I want to conserve the lands for the people, for the children that are coming up You know, there's 4 departments that I would abolish. First of all, the Department of Education, then the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, the Veterans Administration, and the IRS.